All right, let's dive in. Today, we are going on an incredible journey through the history of English drama. It's a story that starts in a pretty surprising place, not a grand theater, but a church, and ends up as the global spectacle we all know today. So, to figure out how we got here, we've got to start with the most fundamental question of all.
Yeah, it sounds so basic, right? But seriously, everything that follows, from Shakespeare all the way to Broadway, it all hinges on the answer to this one question. What is drama, really?
So where does the answer come from? Well, like a lot of things, we've got to go all the way back to the ancient Greeks. The word itself literally means action happening before the eyes. And that's the whole key. It's not a story you're told. It's an event that is unfolding, live, right in front of you. That's the heart of it.
And right there, that's what makes it so special and so challenging. See, if you're a novelist, you've got an infinite canvas, right? You can jump across centuries in a single sentence. But a playwright? Nope. They have to tell their entire story on a physical stage within just a few hours. This is exactly why the Greeks saw drama as one of the highest art forms. It's storytelling with the toughest rules in the book.
Okay, so how did this incredible art form actually take root in England? Well, the story starts in a place that might totally surprise you. We're not talking about a theater, we're talking about a church.
So picture this. It's the Middle Ages, and there's a big problem. The Bible's in Latin, which is great, except most people can't actually understand it. So the priests, they get this clever idea. They start staging these silent, living pictures to act out the big stories. And people loved it. Pretty soon, these little shows started to grow, and they began including folk heroes you'd recognize, like St. George or Robin Hood. And just like that, a whole new kind of performer was born. Traveling artists who took drama out of the church and into the streets, performing for a little cash or a warm bed for the night.
And all of that, it was just setting the stage for what came next. We're talking about the English Renaissance, a time when drama didn't just, get better. It completely exploded into a level of genius that we're still talking about today.
This massive cultural boom, kicking off in the 16th century, had a secret weapon: Queen Elizabeth I. Her reign created this period of stability, and she loved the arts. It was like the perfect soil for creativity to just flourish. And oh boy, did it flourish.
And from this amazing period, you get the absolute titans of the stage. We're talking about the heavy hitters: Christopher Marlowe, Ben Jonson, John Webster, and of course, the main event himself, William Shakespeare. These guys weren't just writing plays, they were basically inventing modern entertainment.
But here's what made Shakespeare, well, Shakespeare. His rivals were brilliant, no doubt, but they tended to pick a lane. You were a comedy guy or you're a tragedy guy. Shakespeare? He mastered it all: history, comedy, and tragedy. His versatility was just on another level.
And the result was this astonishing number: 38 plays. Just think about that for a second. That breaks down into 18 comedies, 10 tragedies, and 10 histories. He created this incredible library of work that covered every single part of being human, from the silliest laughs to the deepest heartbreaks.
It's no wonder then that his legacy is so huge. People still call him simply the greatest playwright in the world. It's not just a nice compliment. His work became the gold standard. He set the bar that everyone else had to try and reach.
But here's the thing. After Shakespeare, you'd think the story would just be smooth sailing, right? Not even close. The next few centuries for English drama were an absolute roller coaster. We're talking total shutdowns, wild new ideas, and some pretty spectacular comebacks.
This timeline just says it all. Check this out. In 1649, the Puritans take over and they are not fans of the theater. They shut it all down. Bam! The whole art form just goes dark. But then, just a little over 10 years later, in 1660, the monarchy is restored and the theaters come roaring back to life. And they come back with a huge change. For the first time, you have professional actresses on stage. Then, as we move into the 18th century, tastes change again. It's all about sentimental family stories. And then comes 1837 and the Victorian era, when a brand new technology, public transport, is about to change the game all over again.
And isn't that fascinating? It just goes to show how art and society are totally linked. Suddenly, with public transport, it was way easier for regular people to get to the theater. So what happens? Audiences get bigger. With bigger audiences, performances could get longer and more elaborate. And for the very first time, drama wasn't just art. It was a seriously big business.
Okay, so we've covered the wild history. Now, let's switch gears and get a little practical. I'm going to break down the main forms of drama. Think of this as your essential toolkit. After this, you'll be able to walk into any theater, look at any play, and know exactly what's going on.
It all starts with these two great pillars, tragedy and comedy. They're like the two fundamental forces of storytelling. Tragedy deals with serious actions that end in disaster for the hero, and it's meant to engage our deepest concern. Comedy, on the other hand, is all about interesting and amusing us, with stories that usually turn out happily and grab our pleasurable attention. They really are two sides of the very same coin.
But what happens when you mix them? You get tragic comedy. It's a play that has all the tension of a tragedy, serious threats, high stakes, but then, at the last minute, everything turns out okay. It's like you get the thrill of the tragedy with the satisfying relief of a comedy.
Next up, we have melodrama. The key things to look for here are high suspense, romance, and very clearly defined good guys and bad guys. There's no moral gray area, and the name itself gives you a clue. Mellow, from the Greek for music, because it often uses musical underscoring to really crank up the emotional intensity.
And finally, there's farce. This is basically comedy with the volume turned up to 11. Farce isn't interested in being clever or witty. Its only goal is to make you laugh, and laugh hard. It does this with wildly exaggerated characters, ridiculous and totally improbable situations, and a heavy dose of physical comedy. Think slapstick.
So where does that leave us today? Well, drama is more alive than ever. The 20th century was absolutely dominated by the rise of the musical. Nowadays, hit shows regularly travel from London to Broadway and then tour all around the globe. Many of them even get adapted into blockbuster films, bringing these stories to an even wider audience. And all the while, institutions like the Royal Shakespeare Company make sure that the classics, the very foundations of all this, are kept alive, vibrant, and relevant for new generations.
So we've journeyed from a simple teaching tool for priests all the way to a multi-billion-dollar global industry. It's an art form that has proven it can adapt to anything: religious upheaval, political shutdowns, and technological revolutions. Which leaves us with one final, fascinating question. What will its next act look like?